My name's Katherine Kennet. I'm a CAMS registrar, so Child and Adolescent Psychiatry registrar working in North London. I'm really sorry to hear all your teaching's been cancelled, particularly your psychiatry teaching, and I hope that I can help a little bit to make your exams easier. So, I'm going to tell you about a few different types of therapies. I'm going to introduce them in this video, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more detail in separate videos. So, I always think about therapy as on a continuum from very intense to not very intense at all. And actually I've drawn you, very proud of myself for this, a continuum. So there are lots of different types of therapies, and it's not a case of just going for more or less intense, but it's a really helpful way to think about them. With all therapies, it's about getting the right therapy for the right patient with the right presentation. So that's the most important thing to think about. That being said, I'm going to talk you through a few different types. So I don't know if you can see my continuum there. We're going to start over here at the very intense part of our continuum, which is psychotherapy. So psychotherapy is the type of therapy which you see in films often, and when you think of Freud and the couch and people laying down, that's the kind of therapy that we're talking about. Psychotherapy is a type of therapy that's completely unstructured. By that I mean that there's no set tasks to do, there's nothing that's off limits, there's nothing that a patient has to talk about. They come in, they have 50 minutes per session, and they meet with the same therapist at the same time, usually once a week. Sometimes it can be more frequent. And in psychotherapy, everything is on the table. So the patient can bring whatever is on their mind. That might be dreams, it might be early life experiences, it might be worries or concerns, it might just be how they're feeling that week. And the idea is that if you do that every week with the same therapist, for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it's a very long-term therapy, that you can gain an understanding with the patient and the therapist together of how somebody thinks and any difficulties they might be having. It's particularly helpful for people who have difficulties that are being very long-term and that might be based in their past. So as part of this therapy, a really key thing that's used is something called the transference or counter-transference. That's the feelings the therapist might be getting in response to what the patient is telling them or how they're telling them, and also what the patient might be feeling in response to what the therapist is feeling. The idea being that in the therapy room, the relationship between the therapist and the patient is a microcosm of all other relationships. And if you can work out how they're relating to each other in that room, then that can really help you work out how the patient relates to everyone else in their life. It's very long-term work, so at the very minimum it would be a year of those weekly sessions. Often it goes on for a number of years, and it can be, as I say, just once a week, but often we offer that 2, 3, even 4 times a week. When it's 5 times a week, we call it psychoanalytic psychotherapy. All that means is you're seeing them 4 or 5 times a week, really. Another term for psychotherapy might be psychodynamic psychotherapy. All that means is you're looking at the dynamics, the relationship between the therapist and the patient. There are some different types of psychotherapy as well, because it really refers to the explorative nature, so the non-structured nature of the therapy. So you can have group psychotherapy, where you have a whole group together, but for it to be group psychotherapy, you really have to have the emphasis on the feelings in the room and I guess that explorative, that non-structured way. So psychotherapy is a big commitment. You need to have a patient who's willing to make that commitment, and you also have to have a patient who's interested in really understanding the deep level, I guess, of their experiences. Patients who have psychotherapy often get worse before they get better, so they have to be in a pretty robust or stable place to start the process, and that's because, as you expect, if you are talking about really difficult early life experiences, then actually, or difficult experiences at any point in your life, then that's going to be difficult. It's going to stir things up. You're going to be talking about things that are quite difficult. I hope that's clear. Any questions, let me know. But psychotherapy, long-term, non-structured, for long-standing issues, with a patient who's interested in thinking about their past, is able to engage and willing to commit. I hope that's helpful.